Last time on Kerbal Space Program Career Mode, Bob Kerman was trapped, stuck in a gray, hellish landscape. As a simple probing mission went awry, Bob, the science leader of the Kerbal Space pilots, but not so much a pilot himself, has now been stranded for 3 days on the moon, with not enough fuel to return home to the blue planet above. Will anyone come to save him? Will the Kerbal Space Program, currently in its infancy, suffer its first man loss and possibly jeopardize the whole future operation? Who will save him? What hero will step up? These answers and more coming today on Kerbal Space Program Career Mode. And who's going to step up? But that is going to be none other than Jebediah Kerman stepping in the Resculator 300. And what is he going to do? He's going to take his ship with multiple command pods, and it's just going to be him piloting. Hopefully there'll be enough room for Bob to, who hopefully has not suffered too much exposure issues on the moon. But Jebediah, ever so brave, is going on the rescue. And who else would you want to rescue you than good old Jeb? So here we go, flying out into space. Very basic at this point, with the current staging situation, just dumping off tanks. This is a ship that's modeled, the Resculator's modeled off the ship that already went to the moon. So obviously there's going to be nothing that could possibly go wrong, because Jebediah, he's in charge. Absolutely no problems whatsoever. There's a quick burn to transition to get into orbit here. We're now only 21 minutes into flight time. Bob has been on the moon for 3 days now, as they could not get launch conditions proper to launch a rocket to rescue him until the Minmus mission was over. But there's the moon. If you are flying blind, as I said before, if you want to just fly yourself to the moon, just wait until the moon crosses the horizon and burn, burn, burn until you get an encounter. But here we go, Jeb doing a quick approach, getting as close as he can. And this is going to be straightforward and simple, not even much of a need for a mid-course correction adjustment. One nice thing about 3 command pods is that you get a lot of extra torque, and it's a lot easier to pilot the thing, the ship, the Resculator, because it's time for the rescue. So we are skipping straight to going into orbit, and amazingly enough, the orbital trajectory matched pretty well with what Bob managed to do. So Jeb, just after making some quick adjustments, going around the moon to the light side, and here we go, just a quick retrograde burn, and then going to try and get down there. Jeb looking as excited as usual. Bob, with his flag planted, just wondering, will he come home? A slight side burn for the retrograde as well, just to even up the orbits. And you'll notice that I put the landing, or the end of the landing area, a little bit further back. But here we go, going to start a retrograde burn at about 25 kilometers out. Don't want to land in the crater, want to land on kind of the flatlands around there. Want to try and get as close as possible, but as long as we're kind of in the same neighborhood, things will be all good. So Jeb, taking it a little bit cautious here, is actually going to be landing in the flatlands. Looks like about 3 kilometers out, but just after some simple quick tweaks, quick adjustments. Here we go, just final burn, final, did not land on a rock, and it looks like we're on a little bit more of a curved slope than Bob was, but after some work, the SAS goes into control, and there we go. So Jeb doing some quick science experiments, planting a flag, because Jeb, he'll always plant flags, no matter what, even if it's at the dinner tables, like, meatloaf. Today, Jeb to the rescue! No Kerbal left behind? No, that's the Education Initiative. No Kerbal left in the cold lunar hills. And I guess that could be Mooner instead of Lunar, but here we go. Now we're switching to Bob Kerman and EVA, and you can see just so far away, all he has to do, he could walk, but hoofing it'll take forever. He has plenty of EVA fuel, and he is coming in real fast. Yes, we are time accelerating this on the recording, but he's already traveled half the distance and still has plenty of EVA fuel. But Bob decides, hey, look at home, I'm going to go home, I'm going to ho! Amazingly, his suit does not explode, but ow, 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 overshot that. Look at all that. There we go. Just flying all around. And, Bob? Bob, are you there? Bob. There we go. I was worried for just a moment that maybe Jeb's rescue mission was in vain, but a little bit too hard on the RCS pack, or the EVA RCS, so this time taking it a little bit more gently. And oh no, what's going on with the ship? It was upright before, now it's down. What in the hell is going on with this rescue mission? The ship that Jeb landed on a little bit of slope just fell down for no freaking reason. It was already tipped to the side when it was standing upright before. Bob, with his engineering skills, goes to try and inspect the legs, but they're not being listed as broken. They're twitching, but for whatever reason, it's all just gone to shit. So both pilots get in there. Jeb with the controls, and what's he going to do? This is kind of a lunar skiff in a way. Another nice thing about 3 command pods is you can do moves like that. So in the proper terms of the Kerbals, we're going to have to ghetto rig this escape here. As you can see, Jeb really trying to manipulate the rotator wheels here. There we go. Up, down, up. Oh, tail too hard. It's amazing the ship can take this punishment, and there we go. The moon's lack of gravity. Jeb is flying on up, just going straight up. The orbit may be hellish, and who cares, as long as he can get home. So Jeb doing what he can, getting everything out here, just trying to get as high into the air as possible, and then to try and circularize an orbit, because there still is some science missions that can be done. The moon does have multiple regions. If you can get to the poles, you can do EVA reports. But this is primarily a rescue mission, so any extra science that can be gotten is just gravy. But oh no. Did you see that fuel? Somebody else is stranded here, floating in the skies. As suddenly Jeb, in his attempt to rescue, needs a rescue mission of his own. So we have 2 pilots out. We've got Kilber and Donnelly hired to be possible replacements, but Bill this time on the rescue mission as Jeb burned too much fuel and the ship design was just not there. We need a rescue mission for a rescue mission. As you can see, Minmus actually in the sky right there in the top right. But this time, the Kerbal Space Science Center has decided to ditch some of the science experiments, just go for extra fuel. So maybe this time with the extra fuel, with Jeb with Bill only having to match orbits here. Bob, who knows what medical conditions he's getting, having been in low gravity and exposed in space for so long. Who knows what's going on? As once again, there's Minmus actually straight ahead. But right now, the extra fuel possibly doing some good here. A few extra bonus science grabbed here as Bill, not the bravest of the bunch, but the bravest of the orange suits we've got left. So here we go, another moon launch. I mean, if this doesn't go well, this could spell real trouble for, I don't know, this could be the Kerbal whole space operation, the whole science center gets eaten up by insurance money. If we lose all 3 of the most experienced, the most trained, the most polished pilots here, what in the world could possibly happen? Right now, the extra fuel not creating too much of a load here. Bill may have enough to circularize his orbit as he just tries to do, maybe enough to go out here. He is going to have to start burning his auxiliary fuel after he stages here. And this ship is equipped to land, but it shouldn't need to land because this is going to be an orbital rescue. Save all the fuel that's necessary for getting back. So Bill, it's all on you, buddy. Put a smile on your face. Don't sit there and scowl and look kind of scared, even though it's scary. You're going to another planet or another celestial body, and it has a vacuum, and you're millions of kilometers from home. Bill screwing up the orbit, as he tends to do every time. Damn it, Bill. But you know what? That's okay, because the orbit doesn't matter as long as he can get to the moon. So there we go. That's how you use the maneuver nodes to create your moon encounter. And he's going to get real close here. So flying there, plenty of fuel still to spare. Pointing, getting to the maneuver node, want to do an even burn, about 30-40 seconds on each side. And we're going to be flying out of the dark side here. Bill not looking terribly pleased with himself, but what can you do? His 2 best friends, his 2 buddies in arms, are stuck orbiting around the moon, and if no one gets them soon, supplies could be running low or could be running out. So here comes the moon, and here comes Bill Kerman, the ever brave, as there's going to need to be a bit of a course correction here as he actually went on a collision course, but here we go. We're going to skip straight to making it into orbit, and this is where, to be honest, I ran into a number of problems. You see, it takes almost 1,000 delta V just to try and make the right orbit inclination, and that puts you on an escape trajectory, obviously, because it's the moon. Now, I took a long time to figure out what the hell to do here, but I'll just give the 10-cent explanation. You may have seen people throw around a term called the Olberth effect, which is, as we see here, almost crossing, almost so close, within a few hundred meters of each other. And you can see it just passing right below here, but it's 2 ships passing in the night. So I cannot get my relative velocity to match up here. But what I'm doing here instead is, like I said, using the Olberth effect, which technically is when you're at the lowest point of your orbit, you can get the most kinetic energy by transferring here. But there's a contrapositive to that, which is that if you burn from further out, it takes less energy to kind of adjust your orbit. So after a few burns, I do turn this into kind of a docking mission without docking there, just adjusting the orbits until the ships can catch up to each other. And it looks like there's going to be a nighttime encounter. As much as it would be nice to have this dramatically occur on the day, it's just going to take one burn after the ships did multiple orbits. I'd say about 5 or 6 orbits. It's just on Bill now. The Resculator 300 doesn't have a much fuel left. The Resculator 450, on the other hand, has plenty of fuel. Jeb used the remainder of his fuel to try and change his orbit just a little bit, just to make it a little easier for Bill to get there. So they're floating on a dead ship, and at this time, all I'm doing here, and you're getting significant time acceleration here because I don't have RCS on these ships. I'm just trying to eke this closer and closer, taking out the relative velocity to the target here and getting as close as I can. Now 600 meters could be close enough to do an EVA jump, but I will be honest, if you saw Bob flying around before him flopping, that EVA is not my strong suit here, but eventually I get close, 15 meters, and counting just some slight getting closer here, and I decide, let me just make one more push, see if I can get just a little bit closer. Just a little tap on the gas. That's all Bill wants to do, and getting there closer. 14, 13, maybe if getting to about 10 as the rotation's changing it here. And this is why you want to use RCS and docking, because the thrust actually started to turn the other ship. Now now Bob and Jebediah are just flipping around, and these ships come ridiculously close to crashing into each other. And it's just they rotate, rotate, rotate. It's going to be on Bill to try and adjust what's going on here, because he can stop the velocity here. Eventually, oh, they're getting closer. Oh, that was so close to a crash. That was within centimeters. Oh, there's another dodge. That may have even been some clipping. I don't know. What in the hell? This is the worst rescue mission ever, as this is all going on the dark side, and nobody has their lights on. Nobody's at home. You can see even the target nodes freaking out to the point where they're showing up in the background now. But finally, after adjusting some of the ships here, Bill and Bob just say, screw it, 20 meters is close enough. We can jump from there. Now they're thoroughly on the dark side of the moon. Cue the chips, potato chips, I guess. And Bill, it's just on Bill to adjust the inclination of the ship. As you can see, there's going to be a quick rotation, keep the ships close to each other. The relative velocity is close enough to 0 for the EVA to not matter too much. The other very important thing to do, though, is to rotate the ship to make sure that both of them are not just facing each other, but that the entrance is at an easily accessible place. So this is where being on the dark side, as I actually fly over where they'd originally landed. Should just be, if necessary, quick rotation. It may already be there. But then just to light the way home, there's going to be ladders, which fortunately the ladders come with lights. Amazing that they're so far down the tech tree, but I guess lighted ladders is kind of an issue here. And then also the landing lights that stayed on here are going to help light the way as well. But this is going to be by far the most dangerous and most high intense EVA that both people have done. Bob already suffering from exposure, and Jeb can't carry him. Bob's got to do it himself. Bill can try and have the ship as close as he can, but they all each get their own command pod if only they can make it. And if they go in too close, too fast, the ship could entirely explode, and with it, the hopes of the future of the Kerbal Space Program and people's confidence in going to the stars. So there's the blue planet right away, and it's going to be Bob up first, as he's the one that needs supplies, he's the one that needs help, he's the one that needs to make it out the most. So here's your EVA. I'll be honest, full disclosure, this is the first ship-to-ship EVA I have ever done in Kerbal Space Program. And I don't even think I hit F5 here at all for any sort of safety's sake, but here we go. If Bob misses, this could be a 2001 Space Odyssey style situation, but you can see his white helmet going ever so slowly, keeping his burns very stable. And for those of you who don't know, you can burn up and down as well by hitting shift and control, which really helps for the EVA controls, but Bill coming in very slowly, very cautiously. All he has to do is hit the ladder, and once he hits the ladder, he can hold on to it for dear, dear life, because this ship has more than enough fuel to take the 3 of them home if only they can make it. So quick, and there we go. Bob has made it. Bob, all he has to do now is to go into the command pod And he's going to file an EVA report just because he can. So there's a quick one there. Bob definitely has seen some stuff on the moon. Probably has plenty of interesting things to report. And grab and board. Cannot board the full module, so he's going to have to go onto another part of the ship. And this could be where it gets really scary, where he disappears out into space. But no, he elects to actually crawl to the top module. Not at all what either people were expecting. But now he's in the tip of the ship. And Bob and Bill reunited in mission at last. Which means Jebediah is left on what's going to be another abandoned ship. He does have some last science experiments to transmit, and after those are done, it's time for Jebediah, who shows no fear, to actually go flying out from ship to ship. If Bob can do it with gimpy legs and no supplies and a terrible urinary tract infection, if Kerbals get that, then why not? But Jeb does take a quick look at the blue planet, at Kerbin, just sitting serenely as it orbits the sun. And Jeb going in also slowly and cautiously. As I mentioned before, if you do take these kind of maneuvers too fast, your ship can actually explode, and it'll explode in a glorious ball of fire. And that's just from a Kerbin EVAing way too hard into the wrong part of the ship. And this is supposed to be a rescue mission, not a pyrotechnics exercise. So there's Jeb flying in ever so carefully. And grab, and there we go. He takes a quick look on the ladder, just smiling face, knowing this is exactly how the rescue mission was supposed to go. This is exactly what Jeb intended. But science experiment's still there. He does attempt to transmit an EVA report, but there is no transmission device attached to poor Jeb, so cannot do that. But just a quick climb, taking a nice zoomed in look as he's very, very careful, because one misstep could be a quick trip into space. As the middle command module is his if he needs to grab it. And there we go. Quick grab, quick board. And there we go. All three Kerbals. Jebediah Kerman, Bill Kerman, and Bob Kerman, the great three, the original three, are reunited at last. As the sun begins to rise over the moon, everybody on this ship is ready just to get home. And fortunately, the lights can stay on, the ladders can go up, but everybody is good to go. So we're just going to have a quick burn to go back towards, and this is how you have to accelerate off there. One more orbit, just flying around, and this orbit's going to slingshot the whole crew back to Kerbin. No extra Minmus flyby this time. The flight profile is very simple. Just get these guys back home. Other missions to other planets can save another day. And there's still going to be questions from the public at home of should all these resources be invested in a space program? Should Kerbals be really attempting the stars? I know there are plenty of people out there who are wondered by fiction and fantasy regarding, well, is this nice? Wouldn't that be nice to go to another planet to see what Jules like or something? But this is real life for these Kerbals. This is reality, and the public does not like people dying. So Bill's going to be a hero here. Jebediah is going to be maybe a hero, maybe a scapegoat. And Bob, well, who knows if Bob will ever get his way to fly again, but we'll see. For now, the most important thing is that all three should be able to recover fully despite their exposure. So after a quick orbit adjustment here, with Bill in the pilot seat and Jeb getting to sit back and watch for once, Bill elects to go for a very aggressive aero capture. In fact, this is going to end up being a skip maneuver, which you can tell that by at one point the height of the orbit is actually going to go back up briefly before gravity captures it again. So this is going to be a really, really hard burn into the atmosphere, and it looks like this is not going to be a splashdown into the ocean. This is going to be the whole crew landing on land, possibly in the mountains. Everyone together now is the Resculator 400 is going back up in the air. That's your skip. But then the gravity and the atmosphere is going to do the rest of the work, as we're going to get a second re-entry burn. Why get one when you can get two here? But the ship can handle it. There is no deadly re-entry mod installed for me right now. So here we go. Pretty fires. The science experiment's working. Cannot log the temperature of everything that's on fire for some reason. That would be more interesting, but here we go. Landing in actually a very nice location, a very serene valley as the sun's coming up on Kerbin. It can only be considered appropriate as all the parachutes are deployed, and it looks like this is going to be a very successful mission. Just got to make it down to about 500 meters, landing legs out. Things are good to go. And here we go. Oh no! The entire ship crashed except for the 3 command pods. Bill being too relieved to get home to remember that maybe with 5 parachutes, all the extra safety from the Kerbal engineers and the ship just tore itself apart. But there we go. Time acceleration for time acceleration. Explosions upon landing. Jeb is very excited about explosions. But more importantly, everybody is home, as I have to do a quick reset here after planting the flag because the game client crashed as I tried to get all of my people out. But the moon can go to hell. Truer words may have never been spoken than by Jebediah, who plants yet another flag. And now it's time for his buddies to try and get out. As he can't open the door himself, but he's trying. Somehow I cannot switch either. So there we go. Everybody's flopping out of the boat. Bob Kerman doing some quick EVA reports as well, having to do the same switcheroo. And there is our 3 brave pilots. Jeb, Bob, and Bill, with the moon in the background. I wouldn't say they conquered the moon, but they certainly defeated it. As there we go. They're all content. They're all going to make it. Rescue pickup is on the way. So there we go for that mission that turned into quite a surprise. We had a rescue mission that went with a very flawed ship that just didn't have enough fuel because it was based way too closely on the prior mission, and that would be my error for trying to greed in science as we get very basic flight details due to having to switch ships from time to time. But yeah, the second time around had more than enough fuel, didn't have to worry about anything other than orbit as I take a quick screenshot here just for posterity's sake of the skies above. But time to recover our 3 brave individuals. And I got about 506 science total now. So the next upgrades that are coming from this rescue mission are going to have to do possibly with some survival. There are some other options here. Advanced rocketry could be interesting. Probably one of the more important ones at this point is going to be the upgrade that'll let me get better solar panels, another battery. So there we go. I do have 346 left, and some of these other upgrades are pretty tempting. But there you have it for now. This is a successful mission, a successful double rescue, you could say even. So everyone survived, but you can see text errors going on, things crashing. My client was acting really weird by the end of this, but this is very shortly after the patch was released. So landing is probably going to be the other big thing here for even more parachutes and even better landing struts. But at least for now, this is Way to Fail with Kerbal Space Program, is next time we're going to begin charting not the stars, but the other planets revolving around the sun. And as I said before, house rules will apply. There will be no manned missions until the planets are probed, or until that planet is probed at least. So if I can successfully probe them with the parts that I have, and I do not have nuclear engines, I only have 6 science left, it's going to be interesting to see where things go next. But that's it for now. That's Kerbal Space Program Career Mode. Rescue complete. I will see you guys next time.